Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being on time and even before actually time, wherever you are. On behalf of COLEACP and OECD, we thank you very much to be with us today. I am Isolina BOTO. I'm the head of the Networks and Alliances at COLEACP. And we co-organize, as you know, we launched this series of events last year at the occasion of the UN International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. And with COLEACP, we have sessions about every 2 months, which are supported by OECD and by COLEACP through a program supported by the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States in our program, which is Fit for Market. These sessions are aimed at exchanging information on subjects that matters for the fruits and vegetables industry, to understand better the drivers for sustainable production and consumption, of course, promoting contribution of fruits and vegetables to healthy and nutritious diets, and showcasing successes and innovations, especially through the operators across the EU, but also from southern countries and lessons learned. The session of today is a very important and very interesting topic. It touches different important issues, promoting healthier food choices, responding to consumers' demands for more information about nutrition and about the components of food, for producers and exporters eventually looking at further some potentially, of course, challenges, but further opportunities by adopting labeling schemes. But it's all also complex. So we'll need to understand better from our OECD colleagues the policies for encouraging healthier food choices through different instruments that we will discuss today. So we will have 2 sessions, two little panels, one with our colleagues from OECD discussing how can policies contribute to healthier food choices, but also giving some examples of simplified nutritional labeling schemes. And we will have a panel bringing more the practical and the field experience from 3 operators importing from different markets across the world, actually, 2 colleagues based in France today and a colleague from Ghana, all of course on the fruits and vegetable sector, and all in the processed food added value. As you know, that labeling is not compulsory, but certainly not compulsory for fruits and vegetables. So hence today is mostly companies being in the processed sector. So without major delay, we are going to start by our colleague Marie RUSSEL. Marie is replacing Céline, who was in the program, who was tested positive to COVID yesterday. You know, we have some cases back here in Europe, and I hope you are all well. So Marie RUSSEL is a senior program officer at the OECD in Paris. She coordinates the activities of the OECD Fruit and Vegetable Scheme. Before joining OECD, she worked at the French National Center for Scientific Research, that you all know, CNRS, and the French National Institute for Agricultural Research, INRA, on research management and European cooperation in the fields of sustainability and resilience of ancient and contemporaneous agriculture and food systems. She also food science and engineering degree from the French National School of Agronomy and Food Industries, and she has a doctorate in historical archaeology of food from France as well. So thank you very much, Marie. You were due to be with us, but of course you will also make the presentation from Céline. So thank you very much from OECD in Paris. Marie, please.
Merci Isolina. Thank you, Isolina. Bonjour à tous. Je pense que pour cette première présentation.
Good morning, everyone. I believe that for this first presentation, I shall speak French. It will be easier for me. And I also wanted to ask you to accept our apologies. I'm presenting this action which is being implemented by OECD to try and contribute to public policies, better food choices. Céline Giner from OECD, is in charge of developing these policies, and she drafted for you a presentation where she explains how OECD would like to contribute through public policies better food choices, healthier food choices. Of course, these public policies have to do with food in general, but as you're all aware, fruits and vegetables contribute, as widely demonstrated, to better health. This presentation is a general one. Céline wishes to start a dialogue with you, a dialogue that would help the production chain stakeholders and processors, as well as mass distribution of fruits and vegetables, either fresh or processed. For that reason, we would like to share her work with you, a work which is ongoing. Generally speaking, as far as food policies are concerned, there have been some work at OECD. The division for which Céline is working have had some interest in food systems for several years now. And first of all, I'm going to tell you how, or to describe rather, the context in which such policies are developed by OECD. As you all know, obesity is a scourge affecting all countries. And you may not know that, but in OECD, 60% of all people, 60% of the population in OECD countries are overweight, and 25% of them are obese. So this question has raised some concern among public researchers for some time now. And we see now that 40 years, the number of obese individuals has virtually tripled, which means that it's a serious issue, and it has to do with malnutrition to a large extent. In this context, OECD wants to work on that topic because, as you probably know as well, such health problems, non-communicable diseases like obesity, also have an impact on employment, on health expenditure, and from that angle, it is legitimate for governments to try and implement policies aimed at reducing obesity and at increasing demand for healthier choices. I forgot to ask Axel to show the slides. I'm sorry, Axel. This is slide, we are at slide 6, okay. Further information. Obesity affects all socioeconomic contexts, but especially people with a low income. And in those population categories, people are faced with food insecurity, which means that in some households, trade-offs have to take place between quality and quantity. People often cannot afford healthy food and adequate food. And of course, this further aggravates the problems. All groups are affected also, because in the US, for instance, if you take people with high income groups, with a comfortable lifestyles. More than 30% of men in those groups are obese, and such rates increase as you go down to middle and low income groups. There is no silver bullet, there is no miracle solution for this. It has been demonstrated indeed that to influence food demand, several solutions have to be activated. A single policy is not enough. You need different levels. For instance, take the case of France or of other countries, actions or campaigns can conduct it in schools, public information also. There are other solutions more directed at to actors like you, namely incentives and taxes. And on this slide, shown by Céline, you have a range of solutions which are being developed. Which are being developed worldwide to promote healthy diets. What is important here is that all these solutions, all these approaches should be combined. Going into details, the public policy approach suggested by OECD includes 4 tracks. First of all, demand-side public interventions. For instance, the 5 fruit and vegetables per day. It's a campaign which is going on in France. A second axis relies on interactions with the value chain actors. And if Céline were with us, she would take advantage of this presentation to ask you to provide some feedback on the frameworks you are developing and how you take into account the constraints imposed by your governments when it comes to promoting healthier diets. Because we know it is far from easy for the food industry to change its formulations, for instance. You can't do that overnight. So, Céline, if you have feedbacks on this, Céline would be quite interested, and I would be just delighted to take your feedbacks and your questions on this aspect. I'm thinking of nudges, for instance. I have a nudge in mind which has nothing to do with food, so I will skip this. But it's another type of action. Of course, one can also rely on regulations, but here again, I can't give you more information because it is not my field of expertise, but studies or research is being conducted to assess the effect of such measures over time and to assess the outcome in terms of supply and demand and their evolutions. Tax measures, of course, and there is another important message which Céline wanted me to convey, namely that one thing is certain. Currently, we do not have enough evidence. No database evidence, especially at the level of research and public counseling. For that reason, there is a major need for investing. There is a need for investments to overcome this evidence gap. And now the last slide for this presentation, we have 3 publications, 3 booklets that have been published by OECD, which you can purchase. They are accessible, they are public. 2 booklets to which Céline directly contributed on food systems, and especially proposals aimed at filling these informational gaps, which is not easy because it involves communicating with the private sector, and it is sometimes difficult and even sensitive to share private companies, share private information. We know that it is not easy for such companies to share information. And for that reason, Céline, for instance, has developed a network. She's heading a network involving actors in the food chain. It is called FGAN. It has been in existence since 2011, which allows me to make a transition with a second presentation, still by Céline. Céline and her team indeed have identified a number of possible measures to be taken, and she wanted to highlight a project on labeling. There has been a report on labeling until now. The report is being drafted. Contacts have been established with voluntary countries, which brings me to the next slide. You can see the flags of those countries: Australia, New Zealand, Israel, several countries in Latin America, North America, European Union, especially with France, Germany, Switzerland, and Italy. Contacts have been taken with all those countries in order to exchange information on labeling practices in those countries. Labeling that provides simplified information and nutrition information to the consumers. I would also like to point out that normally, Daniela Rodriguez, a colleague of Céline's, she works with us and especially with Céline at OECD, and she's just connected to follow my presentation and listen to your feedback. She's also going to take note of your questions regarding this presentation or the next one. Her name is Daniela Rodriguez. I'm giving her name to the organizers. And the 2 of us will be there to listen to your feedback and report to Céline. And Céline, based on that information, will approach you. This project aims at developing a possibly common, joint and harmonized understanding for a nutritional labeling scheme, simplified labeling. Initially, we have conducted an inquiry with those countries. Namely, we've tried to inventorize what is in place for the time being in such countries, because these different values and nutritional claims can be presented in many different ways. So for those countries, OECD approached those governments, asking them what was in existence in those countries in terms of labeling. And this slide shows you that some systems are voluntary, others are mandatory. 5 countries have developed a mandatory labeling system. On left, 7 countries are implementing a voluntary scheme with an endorsement label, and other countries have a hybrid system. So we are conducting this inquiry with those countries to highlight the diversity of the systems in place. And based on that, we'll try to find guidelines and convergences.
So as you see, there is a wider diversity. A wide diversity in the different schemes, the layout, the message that is being conveyed. And beyond that strong diversity, we may wonder whether we all have a common understanding of the concept of healthy product or food patterns that would be qualified as adequate for health. And this is what is at stake in the project carried out by Céline with the voluntary countries that I have mentioned earlier on. Now, to go one step forward, we have to deal with reality, with concrete examples, and the group decided to take as a start several examples, such as apple juice that you see here on the screen, and I'll go quickly through the 4 examples. We also have an apple sauce, a tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, and a pizza. Let's go back to the first one, the fruit juice. You have those 4 products that are American products. The group used a nutritional assessment of products carried out by Food Data Central US. And Daniela, if you're here, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And on the basis of these nutritional data of values, the group has extrapolated the possible labeling in the countries that have adopted a labeling scheme. In France, we are used to the Nutri-Score. You see that it scores as C, but you have the UK labeling, the Italian labeling scheme, and all the others that appear on the slide. And you see what the appearance of the product would be in the different countries on the basis of the labeling schemes. And this goes for the 4 examples that have been shortlisted or selected for you because the amount of fruit and vegetable in those products is quite high. It is the closest example Céline could find on products that are close to the fruit and vegetable market. So this is what the state of affairs is in the framework of this project, a research project that will be a long-lasting project that is in its preparatory phase right now. And in her work, Céline has observed the importance of the private sector. This is nothing new. She's been working with the private sector for 10 years, but its role is of utmost importance if we want to promote healthier food choices. And currently, on the basis of the preliminary results of the first survey, it turns out that suppliers are indeed participating in the voluntary schemes that have been deployed. It is important to highlight the fact that in the countries that have adopted voluntary schemes, actors are indeed participating. And I think that's all I can say on that matter right now. I would like to thank you very much for your understanding and encourage you if you have questions, and I guess you'll have questions to ask, not to hesitate typing those questions in the chat so that we can all read them, and do not hesitate in taking the floor. Thank you very much indeed, and we do hope we'll get feedback from you.
For stepping in for Céline. We wish again Céline the very best. I remind our followers today that she has been just tested COVID yesterday, and she can't even speak today, so we really hope she's well. Marie, your presentation was very, very interesting. We do working with Africa, Caribbean and Pacific countries from COLEACP know the burden of the non-communicable diseases, I mean obesity, malnutrition, etc. And the clear emphasis on prevention, and the prevention is by promoting healthy diets, healthy lifestyle, and so on. And for that, policy is key, as you have mentioned, and we'll come back to that. And also, of course, the adoption by the value chain actors of proper labeling systems and other practices that promote healthy food, healthy diet, and of course the information to the consumers. And while we provide information to the consumers, education is key as well, to allow people to understand. And I think we will come back later today, this morning, on the complexity as well. Sometimes, even myself as a consumer, the complexity to understand all the labeling systems and what does it mean in reality. It's a complex area. The European Commission is working in simplifying it, or at least harmonizing it, and some consultations of which our private sector operators are part of are going on. And hopefully by the end of the year, we will have a bit more clarity on the European Commission policy side. And as you mentioned as well, increased research as well on the impact of the nutrition labels. We don't know, we don't have enough data, and decisions have to be made, policy decisions have to be made, of course, on well-informed information and data. And we also don't know enough on the consumers, how they use the information, and if it has really a clear impact. We know that it's better, of course, to eat healthy food than unhealthy, but still we need much more data. So thank you very much for the presentation. We remind also our audience today that please post your questions, input, etc. In the chat. And also, I think it's all solved, but I saw a few questions on interpretation. It's today, we have English and French, so please use the globe down in your screen on interpretation and choose the language you prefer. And yes, all the PowerPoint presentations will be shared. And yes, the video and the registration of the recording, sorry, of the session today will be shared as well. So without a major delay, and the colleague of course, OECD who is in the audience can come back as well. We give the floor now and we will get the question answer service at the end. So we will get your questions at the end, but we'll go now to the session with the operators. We have 3 companies today. We want insights from the operators. We want to know their perspective as processors in the fruits and veg industry on how they implement those policies for encouraging food choices, and what is the impact on the consumption. So we'll ask we will start by your colleague from Ghana, Eugenia BOAFO. She's the new product development lead at HPW Fresh and Dry in Ghana. You are a member and a beneficiary of COLEACP services. So I also thank very much my colleagues who were helping getting you here. You were very, very busy. So Eugenia works for HPW in Ghana, which is the largest dried fruit producer in Ghana, West Africa. Before being the NPD lead, she was part of the production management team of the company. She has a background, a very strong background on the consumer science, food quality management, as well as food safety, ASAP and ISO. So please, Eugenia, you have a PowerPoint to share with us. Axel will help you there as well. And again, thank you very much for being with us today. And we know that Ghana is 2 hours back, so it's much earlier for you than it is for us. Eugenia, please.
Thank you, Insola. Hello, everyone. I'm Eugenia, and I'm excited to be part of this program. Okay, so a brief presentation on policies for encouraging healthier food choices through nutritional labeling. Let's move to the next slide. I believe most of you on this platform will agree with me that today's consumer is becoming very discerning and increasingly interested in what they want to consume or what they buy to consume. And that is why I believe it's just not enough for companies to pay lip service to nutritional claims and then other social responsibility issues. I equally believe that, or now it is very obvious that consumers are now using their buying or purchasing power not only to promote their health by making healthy food choices, but they also help to promote brands and companies that comes clean in terms of sourcing for the right ingredients and then the right packaging. And can we move to the next slide? So HPW realized the situation, and then we embraced the challenge. And how did we embrace the challenge? We embraced it by accepting that we are in an era where consumers want greater transparency. And so in that case, what do? We then decided, or we went a step further to merge nutritional information of our highly nutritious dried fruits with captivating brand stories on our packaging materials. So a brief background about HPW Fresh and Dry. HPW Fresh and Dry is a company established in Ghana, 2011, in the middle food fields of Adesso. Adesso is a rural community that is about 70 kilometers away from the capital, Accra, Ghana. Today, we are the largest producer of naturally dried tropical fruits such as mango, pineapples, coconuts, etc. We export and we process fresh fruits of about 30 tons and then export about 2,700 tons of dried fruit and snacks. We believe that our production or operations can have adverse impact on the environment. And that is why we have gone a step further to adapt environmentally friendly and sustainable models in all our operations. Because of the niche that we have carved for ourselves in terms of dried fruits and dried fruit snacks, we have our footprints now in Americas. We have it in Africa. We are in Europe now, Middle East, and Oceania. Move to the next slide. Yeah. So in terms of packaging and design and labels, it is imperative to note that we adhere strictly to the labeling requirements of the destination countries of the products. And therefore, if it goes to Europe, we adhere to European Union policies on labeling. If it's in the US, it's US FDA. We adhere to those labeling requirements. And then we also have food quality systems in place where it ensures that the design and approving of packaging has nutritional label information being at the core in meeting conformity or compliance requirements. And then I'd like to also assure everyone that our products go through vigorous analysis in internationally accredited laboratories. And so all the information that we provide on our packaging are certified, and they are the real stuff. So that is on the slide is an example of our packaging, and where the arrow point is where the nutritional information of that dried product has been displayed. Please, can we move to the next slide? Earlier on, I mentioned that we realized there was a challenge that consumers now want greater transparency. And therefore, we have gone ahead to merge nutritional information of our dry products with captivating brand stories. And so here is a picture, a typical picture of our packaging materials. We use these brand stories to throw more light on or to give consumers a vivid information or a vivid picture of the origin of the product that they are consuming. So where it was made, the stories surrounding it, and how it was made, and how genuine or unique it is. So on this picture, we have a message or an intriguing story from our customer Smiley right at the top, telling us how they came about all this business idea. Beneath it, we have an information from our very own Efia Ejekumwa Okunibuache is also on our packaging. And I read, she said, putting our very best to produce quality snacks is our priority because we have our customers at heart and we want to see them smiling every day. When you come down, we have also put an information there which states that this product was made in Ghana in the tropics, and that we adapt sustainable models such as using the dried, the fresh fruit waste, such as the coconut waste to generate heat to power our dryers to bake the coconut that was used in this product. And then down there too, it's so obvious and boldly written that the mangoes that were used for this fruit snack were actually fair trade sourced and fair trade certified, and they have been audited. So these are the kind of brand stories of the origin and what goes into the products that we have adapted in our packaging materials. And to share some of our success stories in adapting this initiative, please, can you go to the slide before this one? The former slide. So in adapting this initiative of using or telling brand stories about the origin, we saw a high increase of 70% in our retail range sales. That is one of the successes that we have chalked so far. Please, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, so our stories are never unending. On this packaging, we try to explain to the customer or to make it clear to the customer that whatever he or she is consuming is just fruit, nothing has been added, and that's it's good for the whole family. It's a power snack. Down here, we also talk about the fact that the fruit is sun-dried, yes, and then it was on trees. It's also harvested and cultivated by small corporate groups where we have given them also employment. And it was processed in a state-of-art factory. And then, as usual, we use sustainable models in producing them, using fruit waste to power energy. We also have energy from the sun that we use in producing energy in our production. And then, as usual, we have nutritional information down there. Can we move to the next slide? Yes, so this is an example, or this is one of our products, baked coconut chips. Here too, we try to create that picture, that vivid picture, which is also the truth that this product or this coconuts were not just plucked and kept somewhere to ripe, but they were actually on the tree till they were ripe and they fell by itself. They were cultivated by small corporate farmers, and we use the waste, the fresh waste coconut here to generate and to power the ovens or the dryers for baking. We do not allow the waste, to be untreated to generate CO2 and the rest. Can we move to the next slide? So proof of quality claims. I mentioned earlier that all our products go through vigorous analysis in the lab, and therefore every result or any information that is declared on the packaging is certified. And then we also have food systems in place which ensure that we meet or we comply with the requirements that we have been given. And so this is also a vivid picture. It's also in our packaging, what the product goes through from the farmer to the state-of-the-art factory, through processing and through the analysis I was talking about. It is produced and then it comes out without any additive, just the fruit, no added sugar, no added cereals, no added nothing, and sun-dried. Please, can we move to the next slide? Yes, so far so good. HPW has been doing well. We haven't really encountered any major challenge in terms of packaging, labeling, nutritional labeling. Yes, but we always want to go the extra mile to prove to consumers and then to regulators who are skeptical that we have the right stuff and we are doing the right thing. In the near future, we intend using near-field communication methods like the QR scan codes on our retail packages for consumers to be able to scan, to have information on the origin of the products they are consuming and what it entails in the production of that same product. And so in conclusion, we believe that coming clear or being transparent does not only earn us the trust or the brand name, but rather it impacts, yes, and then it also reduces the number of product recalls in terms of using the wrong materials. Thank you. End of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Eugenia. Very, very interesting and very successful presentation from Ghana. Please follow as well. It's a very lively chat. We have people from all over the place, and follow if there are some questions for you as well. Without major delay, je vais parler en français maintenant. Nous avons Guillaume
I'm going
PRIM.
to move to English. We have with us Guillaume PRIM, Quality and Logistics Manager at SURAL-SACICC in France, who is going to present their experience. As Marie said in the beginning, there is no uniform or homogeneous or single labeling system. Some systems are prevailing, and there might be a consensus for some of them in Europe between the traffic light system, tricolor system, and Nutri-Score and other systems as well. It is sometimes difficult to choose, and it might be sometimes confusing for consumers. So through the respective experiences of operators, we can have some feedback, which is quite interesting. Concerning SURAL-SACICC, as I said, is Quality and Logistics Manager. He's going to describe this company for you, but it's a family business created in 1958 that imports certified organic food products from different world regions to supply major retailers in France. Guillaume is an agricultural engineer. He joined the company in 2018. He previously worked in the same field, quality assurance manager, for different large supermarkets. Head of grocery and liquids quality department at the Central Purchasing Office of Casino. He worked for other great brands, so big brands. Guillaume has recognized expertise in the areas of quality, hygiene, and food safety, as well as in food product development and food regulations. And it is quite important for us, I mean, regulations applicable to food labeling. And I know that your company is also pretty much involved with regulators or decision makers, i.e. those who define such rules. So Guillaume, thank you very much for joining us today from Paris. Good morning, and thank you very much, Isolina, for this kind introduction. Thank you to OECD and COLEACP for inviting me. We are pretty happy to be there with you. I hope you can hear me. If not, please let me know. I can't see my presentation on the screen for the time being. Yes, we can hear you, and Axel is working on your presentation. Thank you. First slide. So, as you said, Isolina, SURAL-SACICC is a family company that was founded in 1958, specialized in importing and distributing food products in France. And here you have our main products, mainly hearts of palm, generally from organic farming, cultivated hearts of palm, a marginal product for us, somewhat different. Tropical fruits, organic tropical fruits, coconut milk, virgin coconut oil, and another product which is a bit different out of our scope for today, cod liver. Our main customers, as you said, are retail mass distribution as a whole in France. The main private labels like Carrefour, Leclerc, Auchan, Super U, Hyper U, Casino, Monoprix, Franprix, etc. But also specialized organic distribution, for instance, Biocoop or La Vie Claire. Our turnover is approximately 7 million euros for 6 million units, sales units to consumers. That was a quick presentation, a quick description of the company. I'm going to focus on two products which are of interest today. First of all, hearts of palm, hearts of wild palm. Wild palm, I insist, because this is a specific species, Euterpe oleracea, different from cultivated hearts of palm. This is a heart of palm, freshly plucked, freshly collected by hand, hand-picked in the Amazon rainforest in Guyana, mostly by local communities, local Amerindian communities. Next product. Once it has been processed, this commodity is exported to France in jars or in cans, and it can be eaten as in salads, as a snack, or in cooking. It has very high fiber content that should be emphasized. Now, another product from our range, pineapple in juice, organic pineapple, also available in jars, as you can see here. The origin is Thailand, and it's made from pineapple pieces and pineapple juice. It's a very simple product in terms of ingredients, without added sugars. And that brings us back to what Eugenia said before. We have a lot in common here between what she said and what I'm going to say. So these are not fresh products. Products are meant to be stored over long periods and under private labels. That is not our label, but labels for which we work and that we supply Carrefour, Auchan, Leclerc, etc. And they issue tenders and we respond to those tenders. And for some time now, you've had a real trend going on, namely nutritional requirements. Among the many requirements, you have those related to clean label. That is, simple products with ingredients or additives are limited. By additives, I mean all those agents with barbaric names, and there is a strong demand for such products in France. Also, nutritional profiles. In our tenders, in the tenders we receive, we note that there is a request for less saturated fats, less sugars and salt. And the aim, of course, is also to optimize or maximize fibers, complex carbohydrates and proteins. This is common for all private labels in mass distribution. And it is also in line with the French public policies and other regulations in force in France and in Europe in general. There was a question earlier on, is there an international consensus on what is meant by good food? I believe that in France, our nutritional policies are well defined from that viewpoint. Still in those tenders, there is a new element, namely Nutri-Score. Nutri-Score, which is also used by our customers to make comparisons when choosing suppliers. For instance, a private label will not accept a Nutri-Score which is less good than the rest of the market. A few reminders about nutritional labeling in Europe. As you know, it is based on regulation called FCI 1169/2011. It's a long regulation on consumer information and on nutritional declaration. To make things more simple, I would say that this declaration is to appear as a table, which is defined by the regulation. It is generally mandatory for all processed products, which is not the case for unprocessed products. And the information required is energy, fats, saturated fatty acids, carbohydrates, sugars, protein, and salt. And there can be optional mentions like fibers, vitamins, minerals. As Eugenia said before, these data must come from analytical averages or recognized public data. In all cases, operators must cross-check, must confirm the accuracy of those data and test the products, which has a cost that should be taken into account by operators. Regarding the nutritional part, there can be specific situations where we use nutritional and health claims regulated by a regulation. In the case of pineapple, for instance, or for hearts of palm, high in fibers at the bottom of the label. And when using nutritional claims, you've got to make sure that that claim is on the positive list of positive claims in regulation 1196, because it's a very precise and specific list. As you can see, our customers that the big supermarket companies they love such mentions. And finally, the Nutri-Score. Nutri-Score, which is widespread now in France, more and more. Most customers decided to include it on their labels, and when a brand decides to use Nutri-Score, they are contractually obliged to deploy it on their ranges as a whole, so not only on one product, but on your whole range, even if that involves thousands of products. So our Nutri-Score experience, and this applies only to our own personal experience, of course. It's a viewpoint among many others. But our experience is that it is easy for the consumer to interpret the Nutri-Score. It's an interpretative model. Here you have two products with an A, a green logo. It is quite easy to understand that it is a product with a good nutritional profile. For coconut, it's a bit different because of its composition, especially fats. It is labeled C. But it is easy to interpret, and it is one of the strong points for Nutri-Score. Now, on the other hand, nutritional logos tend to simplify what is initially a very complex issue. Nutrition is a science, and summarizing in a single logo the nutritional profile in a product may not be adequate in all instances, and we may have problems with products like cod liver, for instance. It has a nutritional interest, but it is high in fat. Because of that, its Nutri-Score is D or E. It is difficult to tell a consumer that this product contains quite interesting vitamins, fatty acids, but at the same time, the score is E or D. So that's the other side of the story, if you like, for Nutri-Score. Now, from the point of view of the operator, this is quite easy to implement. No difficulty whatsoever. And finally, one may wonder as to the regulatory future in Europe of Nutri-Score. For the time being, Nutri-Score is optional in France, though it has been largely adopted by operators. It is an element which allows consumers to compare between brands. Now, is it going to be adopted in this form or another form at the European level? Is it going to remain optional? Is it going to become compulsory? And there may also be political choices involved in that respect. For instance, Nutri-Score could be the pillar for a tax policy, or it could be used as a base for imposing claims on such and such product. And of course, we are working on that, and we are trying to contribute to the debate on this issue. I hope I wasn't too long. I hope I was clear. Thank you very much. And of course, I'm available. I can answer all your questions. Thank you very much, Guillaume. It was very interesting and very clear indeed. And once again, a complex topic. Eugenia, please check the questions to prepare your answers, because we have received a number of questions on HBW, or check your chat directly. And now I give the floor to our last speaker today, Valérie Tremblay. Valérie Tremblay, who is a Quality and CSR Director for ProNatura France. She is also very close to COLEACP. Thank you again for being with us. You joined ProNatura in 1999 as Quality and CSR Director since 2012. ProNatura is a French company which was founded in 1987 and that markets organic fruits and vegetables in the form of fresh and processed products. We are more interested in processed products today, of course. You hold a PhD in agronomy and environment, and you are committed in the organic farming sector through the National Committee of Organic Agriculture of the INAO since 2010, and you're also a member of the board of directors of Sinabio since 2006. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you very much for joining us today. Please describe your company and tell us more about your experience on nutritional labeling. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your invitation. This is going to be a short presentation.
Donc, ProNatura fait partie du groupe Organic Alliance.
ProNatura is part of Organic Alliance, and it groups Vitafre and ProNatura.
100% bio. Donc
we are committed to produce a 100% organic product for true fair units, and we have a daily intervention. We work with more than 600 producers in France and more than 1,000 at world level. We have got 325 employees on our different operation unit. We produce 80,000 tons of fruit and vegetable with 150 references in fruit and vegetable, and we do hope we meet the demand by our customers, who are more than 2,500 in France and in the rest of Europe. ProNatura, as you can see, is a company that was set up in 1987 by Henri de Bazis, and for 35 years we work on the organic fruit and vegetable value chain. We focus on offering a wide range of fruit and vegetables, dry fruit and herbs. And I will not talk about Vitafrais, which is specialized in fresh produce. You see here the different units throughout France. We have as an objective to work very close to the production areas in Brittany, in the center of France, and we also are close to the distribution channels in the Île-de-France, Paris. We are also present in Morocco, Togo, West Africa. More recently, we have started in Côte d'Ivoire, in Spain, and we also have an important dried fruit operation unit in Turkey. We produce 100% of organic produce. Even before that was an obligation imposed by the European Commission. We also work in biodynamic production, and we are a responsible fair platform with Demeter Agriculture Biologique labels. You see them here. Our different labeling are linked to value chain. We have the Togo value chain, which is 100% organic. We produce pineapple, fresh juice and dried pineapple. Why do we sell dry product? To be able to sell more produce if the fresh fruit production is not sufficient. We did that in Côte d'Ivoire with fried pineapple. We import a banana, Max Havelaar banana, as well as other food products such as a mango. In Europe, we also try to develop an organic production value chain, but not only. We do refer to the regulatory framework in Brittany and in Europe. Our fruit and vegetable are distributed by our processors, and we have decided to implement very strict certification standards and certification for supermarkets, which is IFS for the Cavaillon plant, and Brittany in Ploua, that is responsible for the international distribution of our production. Now, what I wanted to tell you about when dealing with ProNatura, but that has already been explained by the previous speakers. What about the labeling of our fruit and vegetable? Well, when it comes to fruit and vegetable, we have limited display possibility because pre-packed fruit and vegetable only amount to 10% of our production, the rest being sold a bulk to organic or health food stores. But you can nevertheless communicate about your healthy products on the packaging when they are packaged. Our packaging are recyclable. The paper and different ingredients are have the capacity to be transformed into compost. Of course, herbs have to be packaged because they are quite fragile. We have salads that are packaged in paper wrappings, and we can there display a few pieces of information, and I will tell you a bit about that later on. As far as strawberries are concerned, we used to sell them in plastic packages, but we've decided to develop new packaging. We have now developed cardboard packs, and you see that here on the slide. How do we communicate? How do we give consumers information? We here see the different packaging that provide for the transparency and traceability of our products. You see here that when it comes to organic products, we display a QR code that sends back to the producer and to the rules that are being implemented. When it comes to organic products, we try to go one step forward than what is provided for in the regulation through farmer traditional schemes, the absence of fertilizers, and we try to meet the demand and requirements imposed by consumers. You see here a label for a salad and a package, the packaging of that products for the France-Alpes-Côte d'Azur. Again, you've got the QR code that is displayed on the strawberry pack that sends you back to the essential pieces of information. Our core business beyond fruit and vegetable, and I'm not going to tell you anything about processed products, but ProNatura is marketing a wide range of dry fruit. Until now, it was a pity, but we had to sell them in plastic containers. We have decided to replace them by craft paper containers. And when we adopted that new type of packaging, we adopted the voluntary Nutri-Score labeling. Nutri-Score that, as was explained earlier on, insist on the composition of the product, the fat content, and that ranges from AA to D if there is sugar added to the product. And the wide range of fruit packs sold to consumers have a Nutri-Score, and that also holds true for juices and nectars. Very often the juices and nectars are a complement to the fruit, the fresh fruit that is also being sold, so that fruit is sold in its fresh form, dried form, in form of juices and spreads. This is a back of packaging information. In France, we very often refer to the obligation we have to package our products in recyclable packaging. It is not an obligation, but we decided to give information to inform the customer, because that explains why we sell fruit in craft packages. And we, of course, go on informing on the produce and on the value chain. As an addition, I would like to say that the Nutri-Score is displayed on juices for supplier brands. We've got rating ranges from A to E, you see here that you have a product scoring B or C. For non-processed products, we have a healthy product label, but we haven't developed a Nutri-Score for those products, and we do not plan to do so, at least not in the short run. What is important when it comes to organic products is that they undergo tests, and we've got more than 60,000 samples taken a year. And right now, we cannot guarantee there is no trace of pesticide on our products. It would be an added value for us to have a planet score, because in that way we could display information at a glance, and consumers could know at a glance whether there are pesticides, whether biodiversity is respected, and our product is climate friendly. There are, of course, other displays like the Nutri-Score that doesn't inform about the organic production methods. And I think at that I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much indeed, Valérie, for this very interesting case study and practical experience. As the different speakers said, you have told us that this is one added measure. It is a voluntary decision that shows the difference between your brand and other brands, but it is not the only initiative that has been adapted. Several questions have been asked, one to Marie on OECD and the way OECD involves African countries in your work on that matter.
That's one I would like to also know from the two other companies, from Guillaume and Valérie. Perhaps the relation with the producers is something that has been asked to HPW. For all, also, there is a point on the nutritional position as being a major issue, but some of our participants today think that a strong emphasis must be made on the handling, labeling, and the good manufacturing practices in these policies, and of course a lot of awareness that we mentioned. A quick one, Eugenia, on your type of dryers, because we have also, of course, many private sector operators among us, and if you sourcing, if your fruits come mainly from Ghana or from other parts. For Guillaume, what is the impact of the nutritional labeling on sales? I think you have already mentioned a bit that, but perhaps ensuring if it's really a guarantee of quality of the product amongst you consumers, and if you have anything else to add. And Valérie, you have mentioned that you have you are a global gap for some of your products, but you only sell 10% on emballage. So they wanted to know actually if the shops you send to are global gap, and if that is a quality to the final consumer. I don't know if you want to take some of those as well already, and you kind of relation with yes, with you sourcing as well, if it creates additional complications. Who wants to start? And of course, Valérie and others, you have some offers from some of our African products if you want to source so some of them. Actually, we keep the order. Eugenia, I get back to you at the end, Marie. Eugenia.
Hello. Okay, so on the type of dryers we use the biomass boiler dryers. They are basically batch dryers, and then we fuel it using fresh food waste such as coconut shells, mango seeds, and then woods. So that is the kind of dryers we use. And then in terms of where we source our raw materials from, we have the chunk coming from Ghana and then Ivory Coast as well. Thank you.
Very much. Guillaume, you want to be next?
Oui, merci.
Thank you very much. As to the first question, the relationship with our providers, suppliers, sorry, we decided to work only with a very limited number of suppliers, 5 or 6 suppliers, and with them we conclude long-term partnerships. The countries contracts that last for several years to several decades. Of course, we review them regularly, but we do not have one-off purchasing contracts. We want to build long-term relationships because we think that this is a guarantee for of quality of our products. And as Valérie also said, it enables us to guarantee the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. So this is why we have a long-term relationship. And this is a message we also display and send to our customers. We tell them that we can't go it alone. And when we trade and sell products to our customers, we have to insist on the fact that their decision at one end of the value chain will have an impact on all the different actors along that value chain. So we, of course, go and visit the places that produce our raw materials when we can travel, when there is no COVID, of course. As to the repercussions or the impact on sales, the nutritional labeling or the nutritional logo has an influence, but it's very difficult to tell you more about it. The nutritional value table is a prerequisite. We cannot decide whether we display it or not. It is an obligation. As to the nutritional claims, whenever possible, our distributors and clients are asking for those, and we tell our consumers, and it is, I would say, a competitive edge that we have when participating in call for projects in procurements. The marketing actors are also very keen for us to tell them more about the nutritional value of our products. But let's not forget that the legal framework is a very strict one, and that it has to be abidden by. And Nutri-Score is, I would think, for our customers, a tool for comparing our products. If we have a processed product that is given a good Nutri-Score, it of course gives us an advantage that is to be appreciated. Thank you very much. Many questions go along the same lines, and Valérie, apart from those that I've already mentioned to you earlier on, are you considering the eco-certification of your value chain? Anything related to the environment? Remy from CIRA, good morning to you. Remy is asking, how would you consider the display of a climate score that would give consumers the possibility to choose products that have got a limited impact on the environment? When it comes to Global CAP's certification, they are not aiming at consumers, they are aiming at our own customers and companies, and more specifically the German market. We cannot reference a producer from one day to the next. I fully support what has been said earlier on. It is important to carry out audits and to have traceability elements before developing a new value chain. It is a long-lasting commitment, and a non-fair, unfair label supply chain is a no-go for us. We also have to have a long long-term process, a 3-year young term, and we have pre-packed a product in the in supermarkets. Why? But because we have to compete with other supermarkets, and we would like to increase or to develop bulk product sales that are unpacked. And we have set up what we've called our Bio Academy. We are not B2, we are B2C, and we want to train people in supermarkets to explain them and make them aware of the differences between organic products and non-organic products, about our value chain and the way to display those products that should draw the attention of consumers when they enter the supermarkets. And this is something we've worked on considerably. And after, what about the last question? The last question that you added, Isolina? On the organic aspect of your product. We opted for fair trade.
We chose in favor of fair trade.
Environmentally
the
friendly
aim being
products.
to highlight regional
promote
products.
Regional produce through a display.
All
and
our offers sent to
specify when
stores, specify which products
our
are
products
regional.
to supermarkets. We
And
specify
this
what
is
products are
specified,
regional and which ones
not
are not.
only
So
France will be highlighted,
promote the region,
but the region.
or the regional
And the same
aspect of our
goes for
production, and the same goes for
so-called BioPlus products,
Bio Plus
that is Organic Plus, which
will have
be covered by an IGP or an
geographic
AOP.
indication or
It's another way of
other
communicating.
means that promote our products.
Thank you.
I think it has been mentioned, it's a bit difficult, but the one that keeps coming back is Nutri-Score impact on the cost of the products. And there is one as well on the stating that Nutri-Score is fine as it's simple and informative, especially for young consumers, for example, but it should be further developed, for example, on the quality of fat and fiber thresholds to better support a variety of diets. So could the Nutri-Score profiles, for example, and product grouping be further developed? So together with the cost, you know, what is the cost implication for the operators? I don't know if somebody wants to take this one. Guillaume?
Je peux la prendre si, si vous voulez. La question du coût.
Well, the cost issue. As far as we are concerned, this is not a real issue, because Nutri-Score is calculated based on elements which are already available. That is, nutritional labeling is to be confirmed by analysis, and there is a cost attached to this, and there is no additional cost for Nutri-Score, except that it involves changing the labels. Paper label or cardboard labels. It's relatively cheap to do that, to achieve that, but it may cost a lot for companies like Natura with a large range of products. Now, when the process is different than a paper process, it may be more expensive, and sometimes a product can be at the limit of 2 scores between a B and C, for instance. And the results after analysis show that we might have to move to the upper category, which means that we've got to change the label. I'm not going to go into technical printing details, but photography for different colors will have to be revised, and because of that, the costs may be pretty higher. So it is a small problem. We've got to be alert and vigilant, and it might generate a certain amount of complication to manage such labels and label stocks, of course, which come behind. Thank you, Guillaume. Unless someone else wants to intervene on this, I believe, Marie, that you answer some questions regarding OECD. And yes, I answered those questions, but only to you in the chat. Indeed, an entire continent is not represented in the study I showed you at the beginning of my second presentation. It was Africa. And I spoke to the people who are in charge of that survey. For the time being, it is done based on OECD members, 32 countries. Recently, we have developed towards Latin America, that is including Chile, Mexico, Costa Rica, Colombia, but no African countries in the OECD to date. Hence the problem. I also asked them if they are considering to have countries with an observer status, and I got no answer. We are working in the fruit and vegetable sector, and it is important to have all crops, all origins, all climates represented in our debates. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marie. Rémi, we're speaking about climate, climate score, etc.
Almost 11:30. It's a start of a conversation. We can never cover all, the complexities, but a very, very interesting debate. And each of you should really look further. You can always contact us and COLEACP and OECD. Marie will give you 2 details now on the way forward. Unless some of our speakers, the 3 companies, you want to add anything else before? No? No, Eugenia, no. So I thank you. Yes, Guillaume, you wanted to say something?
Simplement vous remercier. Merci.
Yes. No,
I simply wanted to thank you.
You are, and already giving us this time in the morning has been very, very much appreciated. I just remind that, yes, you will receive all the presentations and the recording. If you need to contact anybody as well, please, we cannot give contacts. There are some regulations on personal data, but we will be very happy to link you to the person with his or her, agreement that you can further explain. Of course, Marie and myself and my colleagues are at your disposal. Marie will conclude now. She will mention a bit of our work as well, together with COLEACP, which is an association of private sector operators in the agri-food sector, especially fruits and vegetables, and present in Europe, but a lot in Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. Hence, you will see among our participants as well people from Caribbean and the Pacific. And we support, my colleagues have put you also a contact detail where you can approach us if you also want to present your enterprise or know more. Our kind of support as an association is on data analytics, is on training, on capacity building, on support to the enterprises in different parts of the value chain, as well as technical assistance and linking to finance in a very, very short. And we have a very, very strong collaboration with OECD on those sessions and on other agendas as well. So without further detail, Marie, please, thanking you all again for your participation and seeing you soon, hopefully. Marie?
Merci, Isolina. Merci à tous.
Thank you, Isolina. Thank you, all of you. I hope that you can see my presentation. I can't have it as full screen. It is in full screen now. Thank you very much for your attention for those last minutes. I'm just going to speak to those of you who were not around in September, our first workshop jointly with COLEACP. What is the OECD scheme for the application of international standards for fruits and vegetables? OECD, 38 member countries, no African member, but in our OECD scheme for fruits and vegetables, it is quite different. Here you have the countries which are member of the scheme, and I would also like to tell you that since 2022 we've had 2 new members for fruits and vegetables, namely Slovenia and Croatia. We also have a number of African countries and other countries on every continent. This fruits and vegetables scheme was implemented in 1962. It was created in 1962, and I believe that at the time it was already in charge of developing marketing standards for fresh fruits and vegetables. For some time now, since the 90s, OECD has been facilitating international trade through a common understanding of marketing standards developed by the Codex and the United Nations. Our main mission is to agree on a common framework for quality inspection for fruit and vegetables. What we aim at achieving is a common control procedure. This is one of the rules of our program. And for everyone to work at the same level, we have different objects which are commonly defined by our members, namely explanatory materials and trainings. Very quickly, I wanted to show you a new guideline which was just published since the pandemic. We thought it was necessary to maintain some continuity in checking and controlling quality of fruit and vegetables, whatever the circumstances, whatever crisis we might be confronted with. And OACP was member of that working group which produced these guidelines. They also exist in French and they will be published online very quickly on our site. Thank you very much, COLEACP, for participating in that work. You certainly know the explanatory brochures. Such materials are very useful, used beyond the scheme for countries wishing to join us or just to train people, because you find lots of illustrations for all defects, and it has to do not with nutrition, but with commercial quality. OECD also works on labeling, but that labeling is focused on a commercial quality, that is caliber, category, country of origin. And here I wanted to show you the latest brochures, which are to be published pretty soon. Two of them rely on the Codex standard. Two more brochures which are being finalized, but because given the COVID, all sectors have been affected, and we work a lot with private sector and producers to achieve nice pictures. And we've not been able to work in the field for 2 years now. It was quite complicated. So some brochures are behind schedules. We also have translations. Here is a German translation. But each country, each member country of OECD may ask for such translations. We have developed a good methodology for putting our translations online. Just send us your translations and they will be disseminated, circulated on our site. And this is another slide of interest, because OECD with other international organizations put their resources in common. The aim being to maintain a proper level of exchanges and information, exchanges of experience, I mean, on commercial quality of fruits and vegetables. There will be soon a training for national inspectors and an international training in the Netherlands from the 14th to the 16th of June 2022. No, it does not appear on this slide, but from the 14th to the 16th of June in the Netherlands. And next year, another training will be implemented by Germany. And as you know, lots of trainings are now conducted online, and it will involve hundreds of inspectors. We also work with COLEACP on a self-training tool that would be made available on an e-learning platform. That will be a premiere with COLEACP, and with this tool, it should be easier to better understand common rules introduced by OECD for quality control. Quality control by inspectors in cooperation with every operator in the value chain. These projects should be finalized this year, and we are extremely proud of that. Thank you very much. I'll stop here in Isolina. Thank you very much for your attention. And this is our last slide for you to enter in contact with us directly. An email address and our website address. It was such a pleasure to be with you. Even if we were not physically present, even if Céline was not around, because she could have made a more precise presentation of her work. And you know, it's always so interesting to get feedback from the field. I took many, many notes, not only the questions related to Céline's presentation, and in our next session, I don't know when, in our next session, we shall be there, the OECD scheme for fruits and vegetables to support COLEACP. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Mary. I have questions here. When will there be a training for West Africa and so on? All that information will be sent to you by email. We are 5 minutes behind schedule. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Eugenia. Thank you, Valérie. Thank you, interpreters, for allowing us to communicate, because we have people from all over the world. And thank you to my colleagues from our technical session, Axel. Maybe you don't know her face. Axel plays camera, Susanna for communication, and Mohamed, of course, our technician, our Zoom technician, and Susanna in France as well. Thank you very much. See you soon and take care, please. Bye-bye.